it's Jennifer Andrews here. Just wanted to come back and give you guys a little bit more of my story. Well, actually tell my story. So last week I was getting ready to get discharged from Mercy Hospital, and I was so excited, and I was overwhelmed by the amount of people that I felt obligated, because I'm a people pleaser, to let know that I was going home and what was going on. I had very little voice. If you watch that video, you know that I didn't have a whole lot of voice. I still don't, but it's getting a whole lot better. So I jumped on a live video. I've had Facebook for, I don't know, however many years that since it's been out, and I've never done a live video. That was the first time I've ever done it. And so I was actually completely overwhelmed by the response, and I'm sure it was the content. This is such a hot topic right now, and understandably so. So I just wanted to fill in some of the details because I've had a ton of questions, private messages, and that's fine. I'm an open book. I've had some prayer requests, which is awesome. I am more than happy to pray with you and join with you. So I'm an RN, and I've been a nurse for almost 18 years. Love my job. I love what I do. I currently work in mental health as a case manager, and it's my dream job. It really is. I love the company that I work for. They are fantastic. We were actually one of the first ones to start implementing some work from home scenarios, and started sending people home pretty quickly. My other nurse and I were able to go home and start working from our home offices as of March 23rd. I had to look at my notes. As of March 23rd. And after that point, I didn't have a lot of public contact. I was home. I was with my kids. We were enjoying our second week of spring. Well, they were enjoying our second week of spring break while I was working in my bedroom, and they were destroying my house. But, anyways. And then I found out that we were going to be doing some homeschooling from home, and I was really freaking out, but that's actually going really well. I'll do a video about that later. It's kind of funny. So anyways, I started working from home as of March 23rd, and the following weekend, around the 29th and 30th, I started coughing a little bit. I don't suffer from allergies like a lot of people say. I don't take Flonase or Zyrtec or anything like that constantly. But over the last couple of years, when the pollen count is really high, I do get affected. I get a tickle in my throat. I start coughing. And it's nothing major. It's more annoying than anything. And that's kind of what this was. It was more of an annoying cough. I had, of course, still been checking our temperatures. We had checked our temperatures I believe at the time it was every 2 hours was the protocol. Then it was like twice a day that we had to check our temperatures. That whole week of the 16th through the 20th. I continued checking my temperatures after the 23rd because we were notified that there were 2 positives within our company. Neither one were direct contacts to me, so I wasn't personally notified. I got the blanket notification, so I thought I was pretty safe, and I still think I was as far as that goes. So I never did run a fever, never had any other really symptoms at all, just kind of an annoying cough for a couple days. On Monday, the 30th, I got through about half of my workday, and I was so tired. I could barely stay awake. I mean, literally could barely stay awake. And, I have some chronic fatigue occasionally, but it was nothing like this. Like, I literally could not keep my eyes open. I was so tired. And my whole body, my arms were tired, my legs were tired, my neck was tired from holding my head up. Everything was just so tired. And my cough was getting worse. I called my boss that night and said, I don't know if I'm going to make it through to working. I know this sounds crazy. I'm working from home. I don't know if I'm going to make it through tomorrow. If this cough thing gets worse, I really think I might need to go get tested because something might be going on. And she said, no problem. She's fantastic. And so on the 31st, I went to the doctor. And by the time I got there that afternoon, I was really struggling to breathe. I was really having a lot of shortness of breath. It was scary. I never have dealt with that. I've taken care of asthma patients multiple times, and I've never fully understood what they went through and how they felt not being able to catch their breath or fill their lungs completely with air, and how scary that feels. And so I got there that afternoon and got my test, which was still the nasopharyngeal test. That is awful. It was awful. So I got my test. They also tested me for flu and a couple other things just to cover all the bases. And he sent me home with some support medications, which is typically what we do with a viral situation. I mean, there's no cure for viruses currently, and so we give things to help support the systems. I was having some nausea, so I got some Zofran. I was having a cough, so I got some Tessalon Pearls. I was having shortness of breath, so I got an inhaler. And I went home, and they said, hey, we're going to be checking on you every day. And and they did. And the whole week, everything, went pretty well. By that weekend, I was actually starting to feel a little bit better. The kids were starting to get cabin fever after being, holed up at home for a while. And so my husband and I decided to take the kids down to the boat on Saturday, and it was a horrible weekend for boating, but we just needed out of the house. We just needed a change of scenery. And to be honest with you, it's a whole lot easier to wrangle all 4 of my kids on our boat because it's smaller than our house. And it's a lot easier to clean up after them because I don't let them take a million things. I don't let them take everything in their bedroom, clearly. But so it was just kind of nice. We did go for a little cruise, went and got us some VIP pizza. They delivered it down to the docks. We practiced social distancing. We waved at some boats as we drove by, but that was about it. We just really had a good time. We colored pictures. We watched Frozen 2 finally. I was so excited, and so was Maddie. We just had a really good weekend. So Monday, April 6th, it had been a week since I really started, getting that sickle. I felt a little more short of breath. And I thought, well, I need to dig my inhaler out because honestly, the last couple of days I hadn't really needed to use my inhaler a couple times. James and our 2 little boys, they got up and they started rubbing buffing compound or whatever all over the boat to start waxing it and cleaning and whatever. Obviously, I don't do that stuff, so I have no idea what all they did. But all the boys went outside to do that, and Maddie and I laid down in the captain's quarters, and we just we cuddled and watched Spirit. It's our favorite show to watch. So we watched like 19 episodes of Spirit probably. And maybe not quite that many, but it was a lot. So we were watching Spirit, and I looked at Maddie and I said, Maddie, and I had just used my inhaler for the second time. I said, Maddie, I really need you to go get Daddy. And in her sassy little self, she's like, well, Daddy's busy. And I said, I know. Go get your dad. So she toddles upstairs and she comes back and she said, I told you, Daddy's busy. I said, Maddie, I need you to tell Daddy that it's Mommy and it's important. So she runs back up and she tells him, and James comes down. I know that was only like a minute and a half, depending on how sassy she was. It felt like an hour and a half. It felt like it took forever for him to get down there to check on me. And I told him, I said, babe, something's wrong. Like I'm really struggling to breathe and something's wrong and this inhaler's not working. And he said, okay, well, the doctor said to call. And I said, no, like, it's getting worse. Like, it's getting worse really fast. And he said, okay, well, let me call. So he calls the doctor. But by the time he got off the phone, I literally couldn't breathe anymore. Like, my lips were turning blue. My face was starting to draw and posture, which really scared Maddie. So we loaded up we just loaded up the kids and we just ran. I know I was able to walk up the steps out of our boat and down the steps off of our boat onto the dock, and I couldn't walk anymore after that. And my husband had to carry me all the way down the docks at the marina. He just picked me up, put me on his shoulders, and carried me all the way up there as he was calling 911. I remember him setting me in the front seat of our car. I remember the kids crying, the sirens, and that's about all I remember. The next time that I actually remember anything was the following Friday when I woke up off of the ventilator. So everything from this point until the time I tell you I wake up has been told to me. I know that on Monday afternoon, the ambulance took me to Grove ER. I know that at sometime at that point I was intubated and put on a ventilator. And I know sometime during that day or evening, I was transferred to Mercy Hospital. I know that my husband tells me that apparently I was not a good patient. Most nurses aren't. So there's that. And I fought the ventilator. I fought coming off the ventilator. I just fought. And they tried multiple times to take me off of the ventilator unsuccessfully until they put James on the phone and they put him on speaker. And when he told me what to do, and he told me to touch my right finger and then touch my left finger, and when he was telling me to do those things, then I would do them. And so then they were able to get me calm enough that they could take me off the vent and they could start waking me up. And so that was Friday morning. So that was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday afternoon. Saturday, the very next day, that next afternoon, I was actually able to transfer to the more stable COVID unit. I was no longer in ICU. And things started getting a little bit better pretty quickly. I know I was given the hydrochloroquine and the Zithromax and the zinc. There was a little bit of mix-up coming home as far as I was in Missouri, but I live in Oklahoma and Ottawa County and all the rules and all the quarantine rules and all these things. And, you know, one state wanted my entire family to be tested. The other state was like, we don't do that. Exactly a week later, that following Monday, the 13th, I got to come home. The entire time I was there, nobody could be there with me. James took the kids home and then finished following the ambulance to the hospital, where he had to sit in the parking lot. He couldn't come inside. He couldn't figure out what was going on with me. He wasn't getting any answers. I can't even imagine how he felt. There was a time when he didn't know where I was, where they took me. None of my friends, none of my family, anybody that would normally have been by my side and holding my hand and telling me what to do and being bossy and driving me crazy, none of them could be there. I was in the hospital alone. But here's the thing. I never felt alone. That actually did not bother me at all. And I was thinking about that this morning, which is why I wanted to make a video and tell you a little bit more and answer some questions. And sometimes it's easier to just do it this way. And some of you aren't even going to want to sit here and listen to this entire thing. And so you're still going to ask, and that's okay. But I was thinking about that this morning. You know, the kids were really scared that they couldn't see me, and my husband was really scared that he couldn't see me and couldn't be with me and was worried about being there for me. But I never felt alone. In Deuteronomy 31:8, And this is God speaking to Israel. He says, "It is the Lord who goes before you. He will be with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. So do not fear and do not be dismayed." Not only is that in the Old Testament in Deuteronomy, but it's also he also reminds us in Hebrews of the exact same thing. He says basically, hey, don't forget, God said he's never going to leave you. He's never going to forsake you. And he never did. What's really cool is over this last week of being home and just recovering and resting and sleeping a lot, I found out that a good friend of mine that I used to work with at the Indian clinic, I knew that he had retired from the Indian clinic, but I didn't know where he went to work. He works at Grove, at the hospital. He doesn't work in the ER, but miraculously, he happened to be in the ER the moment that I was brought into the ER. So immediately, he started praying for me. Then I find out when I wake up Friday that two of the nurses that I originally, almost 18 years ago, started working with were two of the nurses that helped take care of me while I was on a ventilator and didn't know about it. And I know that they were spoiling me and taking care of me and praying for me too. James immediately called several of my really good friends. And a lot of them was text message. And I mean, he tried so hard to keep up. And if he did not respond, trust me, the man, his thumbs hurt from texting and responding. So he tried so hard. And I know that there was an army just surrounding me. I've always loved that song. This is how I fight my battles. I love when we would sing it in worship. It's one of my favorite worship songs. And that is how we fight our battles. We surround our battles with prayer, because we don't fight them, because he fights them for us. You know, the mortality rate for being on a ventilator, and I'm not sure if this statistic actually takes COVID into effect or not, but the mortality rate of being on a ventilator is 85%. That means there was a 15% chance that I was going to come off and that I was going to be able to sit here today. And here I am. So I don't take that lightly. I don't. I value the time that I have left here on earth. I didn't worry, and I really didn't think about any of that while I was going through this. I didn't think about dying. I didn't think about where I would be. I didn't think about being alone. And it's because I know where I'm going to be. I know that the minute I take my last breath here on earth, that I'll be with our Heavenly Father. I know that. And so my question is, do you know that? You know, you may be sitting here saying, COVID's not going to hit me. I'm healthy. I'm fine. Guess what? I'm healthy. I'm a 39-year-old who this fall ran a 5K with my middle child, who has given birth to 4 children, who is active, healthy weight, healthy everything. My labs are perfect. Like, I'm healthy. And it knocked me on my butt. I very rarely get sick. And it knocked me on my butt. COVID has no respecter of persons. It doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care how healthy you are. And here's the thing. It's not just COVID that doesn't care who you are. It's not just COVID that doesn't care how healthy you are, or who you have, or who you have in your corner. It's our enemy. Our enemy doesn't care. If it hits you, if it hits your loved one, do you know where you'll be if you're the 85% that don't make it off a ventilator? And if you don't, I encourage you to reach out, whether that's to me, whether that's to your pastor, whether that's to your local church. Just reach out. And if you're sitting here and this social isolation and being shut in has you feeling so alone, I would love to introduce you to the one who will never leave you and never forsake you. He will always love you. He will always be with you. Always. Even when you don't even realize it. So that's all I have for today. I think that's more than enough. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon.